Well, this next segment, very interesting. We're commemorating the 175th anniversary of the Amistad, their captives' freedom, with the New Haven Museum. We're going to give you a look inside into the life of a young girl. Her name was Magu. And right now we'd like to welcome storyteller and actress Tammy Denise, who will be portraying Magu tomorrow at the New Haven Museum. Tammy, welcome here to CT Style.
Thank you, Ryan.
Very nice of you to join us here today. Of course, you are dressed in the garb of the time, which we will talk about shortly. But first, give us a little overview for people who don't know. Most people know the story of the Amistad, but specifically of this young girl named Magu. What was her journey like?
Well, Magu was 9 years old when she was taken from her home, and she was brought here, and she would eventually go on to be the first African to graduate college from this country. But she would be very poignant to the story in that she came from she would be a part of two different worlds.
Okay, and so she came here to Connecticut. She ended up in Farmington, Connecticut, where she learned to read, and that's where the Holy Bible, which is right here, which I'll hold up for everybody at home to see, this is where this all came into place. So, so tell us how this was involved.
Well, in the midst of the trial, she was taken to Farmington, Connecticut, and the missionaries would teach her how to read English and how to write. And the concept of the time was that Africans were not intelligent enough to read, and that would play a pivotal part in them actually being able to go back home.
Yeah, I mean, for you personally, I think it's incredible of you to portray these, as we were saying earlier, these unsung heroes, right? Because there are so many people in history that are so well known that make up the fabric of our country and our history. But it's important to tell those stories that most people don't know about. What's one thing about Magu that through your research that you learned, and that was a big takeaway for you personally?
Well, one of the things that I appreciated was the fact that she ended up being into a divided world, but the fact that she was able to live in both worlds, and then she became the first African to graduate college in this country. So that was one of the biggest takeaways, because as you said, there's so many unsung heroes, and so I like to focus on those people.
Very empowering. We're looking at a few photos here, which is from the New Haven Museum. Right now there is a whole tribute to the Amistad there. Tomorrow, there's going to be this great event where you are actually portraying Magu. And not only do you portray Magu, not tomorrow, but in other instances, you have other people in history that you portray. Tell us about some of the other people.
I portray Elizabeth Keckley. She was dressmaker in Confidant to Mary Todd Lincoln. I also portray Bessie Coleman. She was the world's first internationally licensed pilot. She was actually 2 years before Amelia Earhart. I also do Elizabeth Mumbet Freeman. She was the first woman to get her freedom in the formed United States, and because of her, slavery ended in Massachusetts. And then I also portray Belinda Royal, and because of her petition that Phyllis Wheatley and Prince Hall wrote for her, it is sort of like the basis that they use today to try to get reparations for descendants of enslaved people.
So important, as history really is the fabric of our life, and as we know life to be now. So I think it's great that you are portraying these people and showing a little light towards that. So thank you so much, Tammy, for joining us. For more information, you of course have to head on over to the New Haven Museum. It's 114 Whitney Avenue, and online at newhavenmuseum.org. Thank you again one more time for joining us here today on CT Style. Tammy?